Hi, everybody. I'm Carol at True Self Unmasked, and today my special guest is my mom, who has crossed over. This is my first end of year without my mom. She passed away in March of this year, March 15th, and I just want to honor her presence and talk about what it has been like to communicate with her from the quote unquote other side. I do believe that she is one of my guardian angels because of many reasons, and I will tell you some of the ways that she's communicated with me in this video. So, this is my mom, Betty Jean, and she's not the first relative that I've had communication with. When her mother used to communicate with me, and I would try and tell mommy about it, but she just wouldn't have any part of it. But I would still do it. I would say, that's your mom. Mommy did that. That's your mom. She's checking on you. That's your mom. And she would say, oh, well, like she would never give me a definitive answer. I don't know if she believed me or not. And then one point, I think I kind of pushed her too much. And she said, well, I hope she stays over there. Dead people and alive people are not supposed to mix. So I said, boy, because even scientifically, the amount of the light spectrum that humans can see is 0.003%. It's equivalent to only seeing the tail of the elephant when there's a dark room and there's a whole elephant in the room. Imagine only be able to see 0.003% of something. Well, babies don't see that. They see much more than we do because of their behaviors. Our pets, the animals. Remember when we had the tsunami and how the elephants communicated with each other and escaped? Just because humans can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because our ability to see is only 0.003% of the visible or the light spectrum. So let me talk about some of the ways that she's communicated with me. And if you are missing a deceased loved one, maybe this will help you to realize that they're not as far away or gone the way you think that they are. One of the first ways that I saw her was not to actually see her. I saw an older lady in the post office last week, and this has happened more than once. This woman was wearing the exact blouse that my mother used to wear. My mother was a very unique dresser, so at first I was a little bit upset at the post office because this was a lady that had a whole box of Christmas presents in front of me, and I had one thing to mail, and she had a whole box maybe of 15 or 20 things to mail. I went, oh my goodness, I'm going to say it. And so I said, ixnay on the complaining, because I know how your frequency, which is complaining, low vibrational, affects your day, your mood, and how you manifest. So I started to pay attention to her, and I realized she's wearing one of mommy's blouses. And then I started to really examine her. I go, boy, she's wearing, I looked at her hand. She had a ring on every hand. And my mother used to wear a lot of jewelry. Like you could hear her coming from a long ways away. If it wasn't the clinkety clink of the high heels, it was the jangling of the jewelry. She had silver bangles and gold bangles, and she just liked to wear jewelry. So my whole mood shifted at the post office because I felt like I was standing right behind my mom with this very unique blouse on, and I just chuckled and giggled. I never had an interaction with her. I was just watching her from behind, and it just calmed me to feel like she's watching me. A similar thing happened. I rode an elevator with a woman who was a very flamboyant dresser like my mom. And then when she came out of the elevator and did some kind of spin, she even moved like my mom. So I thought that was very special. I really needed that at that time. That was shortly after her crossing over. And she appears in my dreams. There have been at least 3 dreams that I can remember. Two, I remember saying some affirmations before going to bed. Then when I was in my dream, I could see where she was. She was coming into her apartment. She had a bag of groceries, put them down, and then she started pacing her living room, saying the affirmations with me, like encouraging me to say them, that they were good to help me shift my thoughts. Now, last night she came very vividly in a dream, and I got a 2 for 1 because it was nice to see her and to get a sense of what she was doing. And she was performing. She was such a performer. She loved to be on stage. She loved to lip sync. She loved to act. She loved to dance. She was a very colorful, flamboyant, and a lovely person. Even though we had hard times, she always injected our lives with joy. She really did her best to do that. There was a dear, dear friend that I lost contact with, and I would call him and never pick up the phone. And I kept saying, is Tony no longer with us? Is Tony unalived? Where's Tony? He's not picking up the phone. And my mother went and brought him to me in the dream so I could see him. And then when I got up this morning, because when I used to look for him on the internet, I couldn't find him. And now with the advancement of the internet and AI, as soon as I woke up, I had given up on looking for him because I couldn't find him in the phone book. I couldn't, people that were his friends weren't answering the phone. I didn't find him on the internet. And I just kind of gave up. And it was this gnawing thing. Where is Tony? And in my dream last night, my mom had this elegant dress on with a shawl, and she came over to me and she was talking to me. And I saw Tony. I was telling her, Mommy, Tony's here. I finally saw Tony. He was directing a show because he was always so good at organizing events and helping the community. And my understanding is my mother was in the show and he was directing the show. So that was pretty cool. Thank you, Mom, for that. If you see a bird or butterfly that hovers and they're just kind of hanging around, checking you out, right after my mom's passing, I would see dragonflies, and the dragonflies would watch me. They would be at the window for a long time in the same spot and watch me and watch me and watch me. And I did instinctively know that was her or a representative checking on me to see how I was doing. Especially when I was cleaning out her apartment, I would see them. Sometimes I'd see them go by the window, and she lived on the 18th floor. This is way up high in the sky. And it would just be at the window, staring, staring, staring. So I knew that was very comforting. Thank you, Mom. Or else I'll see an insect inside the house, big or small, and it'll just stay in one spot and watch me. Of course, when you see pets looking someplace where there's nothing from the human eye, that is a sign that they are there. Babies will also do this. Dogs will also do this. Animals will do this because they have greater ability to see than humans do. We're the ones with the resistance because we were born being able to see, and somehow along the way we let it go. I am clairaudient, so I do hear her voice. I hear her saying words, sometimes some very common phrases that she used to say when she was in her physical body. She's still in that physical body when I see her. Sometimes she's chubbier. Last night she was chubbier. The first time when she was doing the affirmation, she was slimmer. So that's interesting. Anyway, sometimes I'll hear her voice or I'll hear her laugh. But I noticed that because I have communicated with several family members once they crossed over. I'm not sure if this is true for all of them, but it seems like as soon as they cross over, they want to communicate, but they can't. Like they might pick up the phone and you might get a phone call and then there's nothing there but air. You don't hear anything, but if you tune in, you might realize it's them trying to talk to you, trying to communicate. So sometimes the computer will stop working because they're pure energy and they don't have thoughts that block flow, and they can affect electrical things, electrical devices. sometimes for my benefit. Maybe I'm doing something the slow way, and they're kind of trying to get me to stop using the computer, because if I can come back the next day, I will find a shortcut, a really good thing. The lights flicker, that's a very common thing for the lights to flicker. Oh, my phone might make a sound. So if I'm thinking about her, the alert might go on. Or if I have a good idea, the alert might go on. It's like her way of saying, yes, do that, do that. Sometimes it's her favorite songs. Oh my gosh, she loved Whitney Houston. Want to dance with somebody. She would lip sync that. And How Will I Know? She would sing How Will I Know? She would sing songs of her era too, because she passed at 85. She did do a few senior shows where she was asked to lip sync some Whitney Houston songs. So if I go into a store and I'm hearing Whitney Houston, it makes my day. I Will Survive, a couple of other songs that she would regularly sing. And sometimes I will hear her own voice singing. Maybe it'll be a gospel spiritual, or just a very old song from back in the day. I'm hearing I'm a Little Teapot. That was a song she used to sing to me when I was a little girl. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, just tip me over and pour me out. Sometimes my phone will just open and I'll see her picture that it really, quote unquote, shouldn't be there, but she pops up, a picture of her pops up, or a video of her will pop up on the phone. Sometimes something of hers will fall to the floor. I've inherited quite a few things of hers, and it might be a picture of her that falls on the floor, her scarf falls on the floor, or something that I gave her that falls on the floor. When I look for something that I left at her house that's now packed in a box, a lot of times I'll find a gift. For example, I was out of soap, and I said, oh, I got to go to the store and get some soap, and I didn't. And I open up a box looking for something else, and there's soap. And I was, oh my gosh, thanks, Mom. And so many other things like that. I found, trying to think what else I found. I needed Ziploc bags. I needed garbage bags, and I found them. I said, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom. Seeing women in walkers. She used a walker for the last probably 10 years of her life. And when I see a woman with a walker, that automatically reminds me of her. So sometimes I'll see a particular color car. The day before she crossed over, I saw a car with an unusual color. I think it's one of those new colors. It looks like army green, but it's all the same color. But it's not army green. It looks grayish, greenish. And I just remember seeing it and paying attention to it. And when my spirit tells me to pay attention to something, it's some kind of communication. So now every time I see that color car, I know that my ancestors, my mom, they're reminding me, I'm with you. When I'm driving and I see that kind of car pass by, it makes me feel so good. When that color car is in front of me, I go, oh, it's very reinforcing of their love. They're watching over me, and I'm not alone. Sensing anything that was valuable to them, like if your loved one loved blue roses, if you see blue roses, or your loved one loved, purple elephants, and you see purple elephants, that's definitely a sign that they are there, or they're thinking about you. On a physical level, you might see smoke, or you might see lights, a tiny light that shines. And I do remember feeling very depressed. This had nothing to do with my mom. This is many years before Mom crossed over. But I remember being so sad, sitting on my sofa, and this little tiny light, I don't know where it came from. It just looked like a little tiny golden white light that just caught my attention, and it just came down and it just stopped where I was. It just was in front of me, and it helped me to shift immediately. So I never asked who that was, but it was very comforting. So that was nice. And sometimes you might even see just a little bit of smoke Going back to lights, I was at a friend's house and I saw this. It was like a rectangle of lights, like almost like Christmas lights or neon lights of different colors. So to me, that I didn't really ask who it was, but it reminded me of an ascended master, a guardian angel, a being of light, nothing to be feared. Now, if you see a shadow spirit, a dark shadow spirit, it's best to let God handle that. Command it to go to God's light to be transformed, and imagine it being sucked up by some universal vacuum cleaner in a loving way. Just ask it to go to God's light. Do not interact with a completely black, like this color, a human being that looks this color. And just know that love is eternal and they are living a charmed life. Every time I see my mom, she's doing very well. She's happy. And I ask her how she's doing. She says she's very happy. Because at the end of her life, I kind of put up a boundary there because she kind of wanted me to stay with her and almost cross over with her in some way. And she didn't want me. She kept saying, oh, you're going to go find somebody and get married. It's like, that's a bad thing. And so I kind of had to put distance up so I could create my own life and still love her, but I needed to have my own life. And there was something about her that always wanted to be with somebody. And her first husband, my dad, crossed over when I was 5. And then her second husband crossed over in 2018. And since 2018, she was just depressed. I was trying my best to be there for her. And I had to encourage her to join groups. And she was so creative and bubbly, but she was so used to always living with somebody. She never ever lived alone. And so that was a big growth spurt for her. At the end, she did. Well, let me just show you how cute she is. Let me see. There's the other picture. Yeah, she loved to dress. I think that she was 84 in this picture. So I had to create a healthy boundary for myself. And when she crossed over, she actually told me that she was glad that I pushed her away. She was glad because she realized that that wasn't healthy. So I was happy to get that message. Every time I see my mom, she's having fun. She's doing something that she enjoys. I did see a dear friend after he crossed over. He crossed over suddenly, and I was devastated. He was helping me also with a major business project. I was so concerned about what happened to him. I somehow found him in his afterlife, living the life. He's having a good time. And you know what he told me? He said, look, I can't help you anymore. Bye. He said, I can't help you anymore. He was dressed in a suit at a dinner party, yapping it up with some pretty women. He was having the time of his life. And if you want help to make sure you're doing this in the highest and best way and you're protected, say a prayer to your higher power, creator, universal forces, source energy, Jesus, God, Buddha, Allah, Kuan Yin, Oshun, Yamaya, whoever you want to say that is in alignment with pure positive energy. I would say, Creator, thank you for keeping my communications with my loved ones who have crossed over in the highest and most constant light. It is a pleasure to have you as the mediator of my communications with my beloved mommy. I'm also getting a sensation right now. That's something I forgot. I will get the goosebumps. That's a normal way that you can know that you're communicating with a beloved spirit. You'll get goosebumps. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you in understanding ways to communicate with your loved ones who have crossed over. Love is eternal and they haven't gone anywhere. They're just communicating with you in a different form. It's almost like learning another language. So if you're interested in the language of crossing over, take the steps and pay attention to these little nuances that I've been talking about, or you might find your own. Here's another picture of her at the very end, always colorful. Just adorable. And she encouraged me to write a book. I just started writing it. I feel like her crossing over helped me to feel free to talk about communicating with the deceased loved ones. Because I think before that, I kind of kept it silent and I kind of had judgment about it or felt that I was going to be judged for it. And with her crossing over, it kind of freed me to willingly talk about this. So if you're interested in my experience with my afterlife communications with my mom, click the link in the description. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and all the other wonderful holidays that are happening for everybody around the world. May God bless you and keep you. So have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you so much for watching. I'm here every day. I'm Carol at True Self Unmasked. Thank you.